In the annals of history of World War II, we can find much evidence of extreme cruelty of the Nazi regime. The expansionist policy of the Third Reich led to severe consequences for defeated countries, especially in the East. Poland, for instance, though bravely fighting against both the German and the Soviet soldiers, was destroyed and occupied. In the German part, many discriminations and war crimes were committed, including the Warsaw Ghetto. However, did you know that there existed a local fascist regime that was sometimes even more violent than the Nazis? Classically, don't forget to subscribe and let's explore history in detail. We should start this history just from 1918. This year, Serbia finally managed to restore its state and to take part in the winners' camp after the First World War. Following the dissolution of Austria-Hungary, Serbia enlarged the borders to other Slavic people of the former country as a result of the Treaty of Saint-Germain. Thus, the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes was formed. It was a multi-ethnical community not only of these three people, but also of Macedonians, Bosnians and other smaller minorities. This structure was a fundamental issue of the state politics. Meanwhile, some extremists were increasingly indignant of this fact. In Croatia, these people were tenants of the ideology of ethnically purified Croatian state without Serbs, Jews and other undesirable nations. In 1929, the radical group of the Ustase was formed in Italy by Ante Pavelic. The meaning of the word Ustase is uprising or insurgency, and it was exactly what they aimed at doing. Armed by Benito Mussolini, they were able to keep an eye on the situation in the Kingdom of Yugoslavia. Based on a blend of Romanian Catholicism and fascism, the group had no qualms about using genocide and terror to reach its ultimate goal of creating an independent and purely Croatian state free from Yugoslavian influence. In 1934, the King Alexander I of Yugoslavia was killed by a Bulgarian extremist working with the Ustase. As you understand, by the beginning of World War II, the Ustase had been ready. On March 27, 1941, Serbs overthrew the Yugoslav government that had signed the Axis tripartite pact 2 days prior. Adolf Hitler, who was actually preparing for the Greater War with the USSR, wanted to secure his southern borders. He also needed to aid Italy in Mussolini's failing invasion of Greece and threat to Italian Albania. On April 6, 1941, enraged Hitler ordered to invade Yugoslavia. The German, Hungarian, Bulgarian and Italian troops rapidly occupied the country, but they could not dismantle the nation. A white partisan movement soon arose across Yugoslavia, mostly led by the Serbs. This topic deserves a detailed video, so let's continue speaking about the Ustase. Although the Nazis preferred to install a puppet government that had the public's support, the popular Croatian political leader Vlatko Maček refused to collaborate. So they had no choice but to install Pavelic as the leader of the new independent state of Croatia. At the end of April, the Catholic hierarchy in Croatia issued a pastoral letter publicly endorsing the new regime and praising Pavelic. The Ustase wasted no time consolidating power through terror. Within days, Pavelic signed decrees nullifying contracts with Jews and granting the Ustase authority to execute anyone deemed a threat to the national interest, terms that included Jews, Serbs and political opponents. An ensuing economic reform dissolved local governments and dismissed thousands of Serbs and Jews from public service, branding them parasites. Many were deported to the concentration camp at Jasenovac, where between 12,000 and 20,000 Jews perished. Over the next year, between 320,000 and 340,000 ethnic Serbs were murdered across Croatia and Bosnia by Ustase forces and collaborating authorities. The Ustase ideology was fanatically nationalist and intertwined with ultra-conservative Catholicism. Bosnian Muslims were tolerated as racially pure Croats, while Jews who converted to Catholicism were granted honorary Croatian status. Unconverted Jews, Orthodox Serbs, communists and partisans were all branded as enemies of the state. By the close of 1941, at least 100,000 members of these groups had been executed through shooting shootings, beatings, and mass strangulations. Their confiscated homes were handed to honorary Croats, while former officials who had opposed the Ustase disappeared or were exterminated. Despite their atrocities, the Axis powers viewed Pavelic's regime as strategically useful. Italy recognized Croatia after Pavelic ceded coastal territory to Mussolini as part of the Italian irredentism, while Germany sent SS and Foreign Office observers to Zagreb to monitor the unstable new state. One of them, General Gleise von Horstenau, reported to Berlin in despair, describing the sadistic massacre of Serbs that left even hardened officers horrified. A Gestapo attaché Henry Himmler confirmed that roughly 300,000 Orthodox Serbs had been slaughtered in bestial fashion. Even Nazi soldiers found the brutality unbearable. Reports tell of children mutilated, civilians tortured, and entire families wiped out. Some Axis allies, including Francisco Franco's Spanish volunteers, requested reassignments to the Eastern Front to escape service alongside Ustase death squads. By war's end, the regime's victims included about 30,000 Jews, 29,000 Roma, and between 300,000 and 600,000 Serbs. With Italy's collapse in 1943 and Germany's retreat 2 years later, the Ustase desperately sought refuge. In May 1945, their last units were defeated by Yugoslav partisans near the Austrian border. Around 40,000 sought to surrender to the British, but were turned over to the partisans instead, who executed them in mass, leaving their bodies in unmarked graves. Pavelic, however, escaped. Claiming religious protection, Pavelic and his officers sought aid from the Vatican, which helped them flee Europe through the clandestine Red Line to South America. The United States Secret Services knew that he was living in Rome, but were not interested in the arrest of any anti-communist from Eastern Europe due to the growing tension with the Soviet bloc. Using church-issued passports, the fugitives reached Argentina, where Pavelic lived under Juan Domingo Perón's protection. In 1957, a Serbian partisan tracked him down and shot him, but Pavelic survived long enough to flee to Spain with the agreement of the Franco regime. Suffering from untreated wounds and diabetes, the former dictator died in 1959 at the age of 70, an unexpectedly gentle end for a man whose crimes even the Nazis found unbearable.